Okay. So we are recording. Welcome, Hermosa families. It's so nice for you to join us here this evening. As you know, we're in an awesomely unique situation to have our kids choose between two fantastic high schools. So today they were exposed to Mira Costa High School students and Redondo Union High School students who came, visited them, talked to them about all the special programs that are offered at each school, kind of really got them excited. So be sure to find some time to talk to your 8th graders about what they saw today. Really amazing options and so incredibly rare to have such great choices. So I want to introduce to you two fantastic people. Anthony Bridi, he's wearing red, and he has a Redondo sign behind him. So he is our Redondo Union High School principal. And then Dr. Karina Gerger is Mira Costa High School principal. So welcome, two of you.
Well, thank you for having us. I'll just speak first. So I'm Anthony Bridi, proud Redondo Union High School principal. And it's an honor really just to be here and invited to present on the behalf of our community here in Redondo. So thank you.
Thank you.
And likewise, I'm Dr. Karina Gerger and also proud principal of Mira Costa High School, and just happy to be here today to just share about all the things, the wonderful things that Costa students experience. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you. So I think as a just quick intro and how this will roll is I will kind of ask some questions and then the two of you can jump in and answer. Doesn't have to be every single thing. So tonight is just about getting a taste of what each of the high schools are offering and in an effort to figure out what you think your students' best fit would be. So today, experiencing them with students is one way. And I know both principals are offering tours too, coming up in the springtime. So I highly encourage you to go to a tour of both schools just to get a feel and a vibe of each of the campuses. So anyway, you will hear, we're gonna start with some details. So Dr. Gerger, do you think you can talk a little bit about Mira Costa, just kind of general details?
Sure, absolutely. So we here at Mira Costa have approximately 2,500 students. So each class is about 650-ish from freshman to senior. Our senior class is the smallest actually, so they're leaving, but all other 3 classes, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are about 650, and we're anticipating a similar number for the freshman class coming in. We have 4 vice principals who travel with their grade level. So when you come to Mira Costa as a freshman, you're assigned a vice principal, and that vice principal will travel with the 9th grade class when they move to 10th and 11th and 12th, so that the vice principal can get to know all of the students that they work with, as well as their families. So it's nice to be able to make those connections on a smaller level by having 650 versus students across all 4 grade levels. We have 8 alpha counselors here at Mira Costa. So your student will be assigned to a counselor who is also the counselor who the students will remain with during the 4 years that they go through high school. We have 3 college and career center counselors that help with the college application process, and they're fantastic and very knowledgeable. And we have about 110 teachers here at Mira Costa.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to toss over to you, Mr. Bridi.
All right, tough act to follow. All right, so we have a 56-acre campus, many of which families have been to that are from Hermosa, you know where we are, PCH and Diamond by McDonald's and Starbucks. They're very popular destinations for our students. And then with that, we have about 3,000 students. We have 13 counselors, 7 of which are the students' alpha counselors. We have a wellness center that has 2 counselors, and we have nest counselors, 2 of which support our college and career. And then we have a few counselors that are supporting interventions and some other endeavors here on campus supporting our PBIS model. Let's see, what else do we have? I always say we have something for everyone here at Redondo. We have 100+ clubs. We have excellent athletics, great staff, and great, I want to say just facilities in general. Many of you have seen our campus, and what you've seen is the fruition of a bond that was passed in 2010. And so it's been about 12 years now since really those cosmetic pieces and some, I mean, we have a brand new admin building. It's not brand new anymore. It's about 12 years old. But that Measure C bond is really what you see within our facilities. And so now it's like, now we're managing the excellent facility that we have. And I know Costa has those beautiful athletic facilities. Ours are just as beautiful, but they're a little bit older. And but they really house just amazing athletic programs that our students participate in. So I would say my last little bit here is more than, I would say about half of our student population is an athlete. So about 1,500 students participate in the athletics.
Super significant. I think if we can keep on that same, in that same vein, Dr. You want to talk about Costa Athletics as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, we have about half of our, or a little more than half of our students that participate in athletics. We have about 35 varsity teams, all sorts of different sports available, and just similar to Redondo. And we have a brand new athletic facility also that was completed about 2 years ago, that was also funded by a bond here in Manhattan Beach. It's a fantastic facility. It has a very large gym that has three courts, and then a smaller gym that has one, and just a wrestling room, weight room, dance rooms. So there are classrooms that are in there as well. So it's a fantastic facility, and it's utilized all the time by many of the different teams, and everyone's vying for space and time in the building, because it is an amazing experience to be in there.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit, because I know that you both have had a show or are going to be having a show for performing arts with regard to drama, musical theater, band is involved. So you can talk a little bit about your performing arts, upcoming shows that maybe our kids can attend or families can attend to get on your campus, or things that you've already accomplished in the 3 short months you've been here already. And then some other things like what kind of bands do you offer, or what do you have, choir, things like that. So why don't we start with you, Mr. Bridi, and then we can toss over to Karina, and then also you can fill in each other. So if there's something that gets brought up by another principal, bring that up too.
All right. There's so much going on, I would say, with visual and performing arts, but I'm going to highlight first, we just have a lot of clubs, and really these are I would say the clubs that aren't highlighted as much as, let's say, our big performances in the theater. But we have like Salsa Club, and they perform at all of our rallies, and we have other dance clubs, and we have like a Black Student Union, and we have a lot of affiliated clubs from not only partnerships from the outside, but they bring those inside, which the students just really gravitate towards because they're so well respected. So it's just a highlight of our rallies when we see the different clubs participate or showcase what they're learning or doing within that experience with each other. So those are the smaller things I like to always showcase. But for the bigger productions, we started with Chicago this fall. So that's what we had. The coolest part was we had our jazz band accompaniment with Chicago. So it was student composed with all the music with our student musicians, and then the performers within Chicago. So it was really awesome to see. And then upcoming, we have a play called She Kills Monsters, and that is going to be December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at 7 p.m. And December 4th, there's a matinee at 2 o'clock in our Redondo Union auditorium. So if you have nothing to do in December, early December, tickets, I believe, are $10. You can buy them now. Go on our website and you can check that out. So the other things that we have going on, it's a big thing. Just so you know, the neighbors tell me all the time, our marching band and dance are preparing for their 5A marching band and dance competition this Saturday, held at in Riverside Martin Luther King High School. So this is huge. Last year we were the Division 5A champs for marching band, and so this year I'm hopeful we're in the running there somewhere. So marching band is very popular. We also have multiple jazz bands, and they're always performing. We have a tree lighting ceremony here in Redondo, I believe December 6th, don't quote me on that, but we're going to have our choir and our jazz band perform along with our MC, JROTC color guard. So they're going to be present there just to support our community in that tree lighting ceremony. And I'm going to end there.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you. Dr. Gerger.
Yeah, so we have about 100 clubs here on campus, and the one great thing about the clubs at Costa is that they're student generated. And so when a student has an interest that they would like to bring to campus, they find an advisor, and they gather 10 of their friends or peers interested in the same thing, and they can start a club here on campus. There's a lot of fun opportunities. They meet weekly in the classroom of the teacher sponsor, and I'm sure that we have similar clubs as Redondo does. There's different clubs like the BSU. We have a chess club. We have a Jewish cultural club. We have a gardening club. There's so many different options, but it's all based on student interest in what they'd like to start, which is great. And so that's how they draw their crowd. And they have club days where they're able to sell things and make money to fund their club and the activities that they'd like to do. We just had a performance, Love Sick, and it was an unromantic comedy that for the romantic in everyone, and it was such a great show. We had about 7 performances, but that just ended this fall. We will also be doing Mamma Mia, the musical, in the spring, and so we invite you to come and see that. We're really, really excited about doing that this year. And we have our drama students that perform, and we also have our drama tech students who do all of the background work in terms of setting up the stage and building the props and doing all of that. So if your student is interested in performing and being on stage, they can do that. But if they are also interested in supporting in the background and being a part of the show, they have that opportunity as well.
Very cool. Okay, thank you so much. Do either of you want to add anything to that that topic, or can I move on to something?
We also, one other thing I'd like to say is that we have many performances that especially around the holidays for choir and orchestra and band. So there's always tickets available to come and see our students perform. We do have a Grammy award-winning music department. And so it's just amazing to watch with the students when they come up on stage and they play, and how dedicated they are. And just as Mr. Bridi said, there's the jazz band, there's the choir, there's the marching band. And so there's just so many different opportunities within the visual and performing arts departments that students can participate in.
So I know both principals already know this, but parents might not, family members and parents might not. But with a partnership with Dr. Johnson, our superintendent, both Redondo and Mira Costa have opened their doors to us, and we've been able to come back or come over to their schools and talk to former Hermosa kids, which has been so cool and rich in terms of our planning to make sure that we're preparing them for 9th grade for each of the schools. So we're looking to talk more to freshmen, maybe science teachers and English teachers, to see what are you really focusing on. But we made some changes as a result of student voice. And I think whenever we're listening to student voice and altering programs based on what kids need, we're winning. One of those is drama. A lot of your students, Mr. Bridi and Dr. Gerger, say things like, well, Hermosa didn't have a drama program. So I felt like when I came in, it was just like people were way more advanced than me. And so now Leslie Lee teaches drama to our students. And I know trimester 1 is coming upon us, but band, entry-level band is kind of not what happens at either school, because it's, are you a concert pianist? You're in. But I know that both of you are working toward getting earlier musicians, like people that are earlier in the process, into your schools. And Mr. Harrison does a great job preparing our band students to enter into your schools. We had one other change too this year with regard to Spanish, and then I'm going to toss over to you about languages, if that's okay, after I say. So Spanish, students usually have to take 2 years of middle school Spanish in order to jump over Spanish 1 at both schools, or test into it. So Hermosa kids, which I think not everybody knew, we're having to test into both of the schools in order to pop over. But this year, what we did is we opened up a 7th grade Spanish. So students at Hermosa now have an option to take 2 years of Spanish, 1 in 7 and 1 in 8, and can enter into Spanish 2 without having to test, just like MBMS students or Paris students can do at either high school. So also listening to that voice, listening to you, and then also partnering with the high school. So thank you, Mr. Bridi, Dr. Gerger, for letting us on your campus and talking to your amazing kids. Super cool to see Hermosa kids grown up with such wonderful opinions and thriving in your schools. So in the same vein as that, can we talk a little bit about language offerings at each of your schools?
Sure, I'll jump in. We have here at Mira Costa, we offer Spanish, French, Mandarin, and American Sign Language. So, and it seems like American Sign Language has been growing over the years. When I was here back at Costa as a vice principal about 8 years ago, we started with one ASL class, and now we're up to needing 2 teachers to teach ASL. So it's become a very popular class here at Costa.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bridi.
All right, so we offer 3 of 4 of those. The one that we do not offer is ASL. So we do have Mandarin, we have Spanish, and then we also have French. So those are the 3 that we offer. Currently, we have a robust Spanish offering because we have a DI, or dual immersion program, that has rolled in from our elementary into the middle school now. We're seeing the second year, this class, the class of 27, will be the second year of the DI kids coming in. So we have not only like Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3, 4, etc., but we have native speaking or speaker Spanish. So we have like NS2, NS3, NS4. So you know, it depends on, you know, where the students are and what they're ready for to tackle that language.
Awesome, thank you. Parents, I just want to throw out to you, some of you are direct messaging me. Please continue to do that, or put your questions in the chat so principals can see it and we can address it as we travel through or sometime at the end. I want to kind of hit over to your 9th grade schedules, because I think that's something that parents are like, what should my kids take? What are the offerings? And, you know, should we lean toward one way? Should we take, you know, which path should we take? And so for families, I want you to know that both Redondo and Mira Costa counselors make themselves available to our students by coming over to our school and hand scheduling them, having conversations with them and hand scheduling them. This is after the portal will open. I also want to highlight Eileen Levin has created an 8th grade website. One of the pieces of feedback from both of your sets of students was, you know, I feel like MBMS kids or Paris kids knew more than what we knew when we were transferring in. So it'd be really cool if we had access to each school's piece of information. So the 8th grade website contains all Mira Costa information, all Redondo information relevant to incoming 9th graders. So principals, whenever you are sending something out or you're developing a mock schedule for 9th graders, or when we come upon our timeline for when counselors are coming over, I think that usually happens in March-ish. When they come over, please send that. We'll push it out to 8th grade families. 8th grade families, you will start to receive emails from me separate from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade families about, hey, here's this thing that's coming up. Be sure to register for this. Or this is, I think Redondo, you have an event coming up that, and this is Costa, maybe already happened, but both of you have a get to know our campuses. And what is it called, Bridi? Yours?
It's just called like Meet the Principal. It's a family tour at Redondo Union High School, and that will be December 3rd at 2:30. And we're going to start in front of the RU auditorium. So
and anybody can come, they just register?
Yeah, so I sent you a flyer just recently, so you can post that on our Redondo side. And then if you do RSVP, that will help us know how many will be in attendance, and then we can break the groups up for the tours on that day. So it'll be roughly about an hour.
Okay, great. And then Dr. Gerger, I know you have principals tours, but I think is that usually in the spring?
Actually, we have been doing them already. Once a month, we do have a principal tour available. I've done 2 so far, and we have another one coming up, but I think the one coming up, it has already been reached capacity, but they happen every month. And so if you just go on, and there's a Google form to sign up to attend.
Great. So I'll link both of those to the 8th grade website, and then I'll push out the link to the 8th grade website to all families later on. Okay, 9th grade schedule. So what do kids take at your schools? Bridi, do you want to start?
Sure. It's a pretty basic schedule. So we have, we'll start with our schedule. It's a block schedule. So on Mondays, we have a stack schedule and we have a late start. That's my hope for next year. So meaning on Mondays, it starts at 9:30 and it's all periods. So periods 1 through 6. Tuesday and Thursday is 2, 4, 6. And then the Wednesday, Friday schedule is 1, 3, 5.
Cool.
So usually freshmen will take PE or an athletic sport. So that's one class. They'll take a science, it's biology. They'll take a math, that's just where they are developmentally, whether it's algebra usually or geometry. They'll take English. There are English honors sections as well. So it's English 9 or English 9 honors. They'll take an elective. So we have multiple electives out there. I'm not going to get in the weeds with those electives, but we have art offerings. We have culinary arts, just to name a few. And then usually our ninth graders will take their first course in a world language.
Great. Very cool. So can I just ask
Sure.
Bridi really quick? If a student wants to be a part of an athletic team, when usually do those communications come out so I can highlight that to families?
Yeah, so those come out in the summer. And then those are driven by the athletic director really at the close of the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
And we have different types of summer camps that are run and sponsored through our Ed Foundation and held here on the Redondo Union High School campus. So that's one way to get involved with athletics and the tryouts that are involved.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll message that to Eileen does a really good job of trolling both of your websites to get information out to families in a very positive way. Dr. Gerger, can you talk a little bit about ninth grade schedule?
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty similar to what Mr. Bridi has shared. They take an English 9 class, biology as well. They take a math class, a world language, physical education or athletics as well. And then they have the option of taking an elective. That would be 6 periods in the day or the minimum number of classes that a freshman would take. But there is also the option of 0 period. Some students like to have 2 electives, and that's an option as well. So it's a pretty typical schedule. Some, like Mr. Bridi said, there's different options for electives from, like he said, all the arts, music, 3D fabrication, drama, tech, theater, like the STEM electives, principles of engineering, data science, things like that. And there are 2 options for freshmen for AP classes, which is AP Computer Science and AP Human Geography. But so if your student is interested in either of those 2, that's an option.
In terms of math, one of the things that we do to partner is after we send out the high school commitment form, so all parents, all families will receive a commitment form where you get to select Redondo or Mira Costa. Those lists are provided to Redondo and Costa's counseling teams, and that kind of helps us to target messaging to, are we creating them a portal on their student information system? What kind of registration documents are required? So you can kind of get really, a question just came in. Block schedule is only at Redondo. Costa is a 1 through 6 or 0 through 6 schedule. Sorry, just wanted to hit that really quick. In terms of math, what happens with math is our math teachers get together and look to see what recommendations that they make for incoming 9th graders, for our outgoing 8th graders. And then that is sent directly to the math department chairs at either school. And also counseling teams are CC'd. So ultimately, it's data driven and data based. Depending on what students do over the summer, that could alter what they end up starting with in their freshman year, but the recommendation will be sent directly to the school, and the families will also receive what is recommended that the student take. So that's kind of a little bit about math. I had a parent that asked about STEM options. So Dr. Gerger, I think you started by talking a little bit about computer science. Can you just elaborate on the pathways or what maybe freshmen can take or in their sophomore year, anything STEM related? And then I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Bridi.
Absolutely. So we have our technology and engineering program, and it's really hands-on learning for different tech fields. We have robotics, computer science, cybersecurity, and we have some engineering courses that are all done through Project Lead the Way. So those would be the things that are offered. When we say STEAM, that's also the arts. So then you have all of the performing arts and the visual and performing arts, and then also the arts and ceramics and all of that as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'm up. So yeah, I'm looking really at the pathway. So we have something very similar. So we have AVID. I don't know if you know what AVID stands for, but AVID we call it a pathway because we want the commitment of students that start 9th grade to end in 12th grade, right? To have that support to be a college going culture and student base. Biomedical science, business and finance pathway, a computer science pathway, culinary arts, we just added a class this year within that pathway, digital photography and journalism, engineering, media arts, and special education we also have as a pathway because we have a lot of different offerings for students for a career really at the end and college as well.
Very cool.
I'd like to, if I can, one more, and it's one that's near and dear to Ms. Bledsoe's heart, is our biotechnology pathway. It's a 3-year pathway, and that students can participate in. And I know it's something that you taught for many years, and many students enjoy taking that pathway as well.
Awesome options. I have a question, a super important, valid question that I think I'm going to get both of you will get hit up with, but summer school classes, how do families register for summer school classes? When will that information become available? When can we push it out to our families?
So for us, we have a Manhattan Beach Athletic Foundation who runs our summer school program here at Costa. And that information typically comes out right around when students are registering. So they put out on their website, mbxfoundation.org. They put all the information, and there's a summer school link. And so you can see the classes that will be offered, and all of everything goes through them.
Okay, great. Mr. Bridi.
All right, so we have something very similar, and that's supported by our Ed Foundation. So we have Redondo Beach Ed Foundation, or RBEF, and they put on summer school offerings, most likely for advancement, right? So it's like, oh, we want to take like a world history because anyway, so that's a whole conversation. I don't want to get in the weeds with that. But we also have credit recovery options, usually not for freshmen, but credit recovery options for students that are usually 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And that's run by RBUSD.
Okay, and so we would get to there from your district website or from your Ed Foundation website?
So that will be from our Ed Foundation website, and that's usually, it occurs, I would say, after spring break.
Okay.
Because we need to determine which course offerings are going to be the most successful and the most attended. So we
Perfect.
just need to gauge that.
So what I'll do is I'll link both of I'll link your Ed Foundation and then the mbx.org on our website. And then we'll just provide updates of when things are new and coming out. We'll email them out to families and post it there.
One last thing I forgot to mention too, for us, we have a health requirement, and many 9th grade students do take the health class over the summer. It's a semester class, and it takes 3 weeks to do that over the summer. But many do decide, because we have classes here on Costa's campus, it's kind of an introduction if they come to campus for those 3 weeks and they're sitting through a class and they're meeting friends. So that's the most popular class that incoming 9th graders take.
Great. That was actually a next question. Do both schools recommend taking health over the summer? So is that something that you recommend? I know that your PE classes are a little bit different. I think Redondo does a self-contained PE, and then health is not a graduation requirement any longer, right?
Redondo, correct.
Redondo, right. And then at Mira Costa, health is a graduation requirement still. So it is there's 2 ways to get your health requirement. So that's health over the summer.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also online health during the school year.
Oh yeah, so there's 3, and then PE.
And then PE. Mm-hmm.
So the PE athletics the PE, what is it called? I can't remember.
Well, it's a class called fitness and nutrition, but we may not be offering that next year.
Okay.
So but at this point in time, we do have a PE, fitness and nutrition, where students take PE and health at the same time.
Got it. Okay, so, and Redondo made the shift because through the state, it's no longer a requirement for the state for students to have health as a graduation requirement. It's obviously Redondo still recommends students learn the content curriculum. And I believe I heard from your teachers that a lot of it is being pushed into biology, like the health standards.
Yeah, so that's called the California Health Youth Act, I want to say, CHIA. And so there are specific lessons that are taught within biology. That's what we've decided to do to make sure that the students receive the curriculum that's required by the state.
Perfect. The other piece is course description handbooks. I know you both have course description handbooks that we can link this year. Do you think it's pretty fair game for us to link the 21-22 and things will be similar-ish for next year?
It's something that's nice to look at, but there will be changes that come because, you know, every year we do have new courses that are proposed. And so it will change a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to add, ours will also change. I would say, like Costa, we try to be on the cusp of what those new trends are so that we have classes that students gravitate towards. And obviously that changes what that master schedule and course offerings look like.
Yeah, and I think a huge positive for both schools that doesn't exist in other places is both schools host a student-driven master schedule, which means the courses that they run are the ones that students register for, as opposed to we have this number of teachers that can teach this, and this is all we're running. The class is locked out. It's what are students registering for, and then that's how they build their master schedule. So courses come out a little bit, like student schedules will come out, final ones, a little bit later, probably right before registration, but that's because you're working on the expansion of offerings, like as late as July even. Okay. Those are all of the questions that I have from families. If you have any other questions, families, you're welcome to drop them in the chat. The only other piece that I think we could elaborate on is Hermosa Valley is doing a big push for PBIS. We're a year one, tier one school. So it's a real beginning, and we started teams. So every student was assigned to a house. We have like yellow lions and the red wolves and things like that. And they're competing against one another. And I know your schools do different things with regard to PBIS. I know that it's mainly focused on how do we reward students for doing the right thing and how do we get them to continue that behavior. But can you talk a little bit about your PBIS programs at each of your schools? Either one, go ahead.
I can start. So we do have a PBIS committee, which drives really the tiers or levels of support for all of our students. So we don't have houses like Mira Costa. However, what we have are supports that we feel are necessary based on what we see with trends of students. So for instance, we have a wellness center on site because we know that social emotional learning is very important for our students, and then capturing those trends with what kind of supports are needed here on campus. So it's not like here are like the top tier levels of supports. We provide those level supports when we feel they're necessary for students that sometimes identified by staff or identified by parents. And then we tier those levels of supports for the students based on that. Bigger picture within our PBIS is, I know people talk about like discipline. Well, what happens if, what do you do here? That layers into PBIS, and it's really about having options and a menu of supports for students when they do sometimes make choices that aren't appropriate. Like it's not like you jump to the consequence of, oh, you get a punishment for X. It's like, well, maybe we just need to talk about that, right? And what does that look like within our PBIS model, which is the choice of, I think I just need to talk to the teacher. So there's different types of options for students when they do make poor choices. And then a big picture, like shout out, we have every Thursday, we have like Seahawk Peak. So we not only recognize students that are doing an extraordinary job to influence their peers in a positive way, we give shout outs over our loudspeaker, and then we go to the room and it's a big rah-rah moment. But we also celebrate our staff that are Seahawks of the week as well. And that's all staff members from the custodians all the way to in between to our admins. So there's those celebrations that we also have on campus.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Dr. Cooker.
Yeah, so for us, we have our PBIS model, which is Mustangs Expect Respect, and it's about respecting others, respecting yourself, and respecting property. So that those are the three that we always kind of tie everything back to. And we do the same where we celebrate students and staff members. We actually have a form that anyone can submit a nomination for Mustangs Expect Respect, and we have a student store where there's some rewards where students, if they are, and staff, if they're selected or nominated by a peer or a colleague, they have the opportunity to come in and earn some rewards. And we also do the shout outs over the loudspeaker. And it's really exciting to talk about positive behaviors. And similar to what Mr. Bridi was saying in terms of discipline, we do have that restorative piece as well, where we really are trying to work with students to understand the why of why students do certain things. Maybe if they make a poor choice, we want to talk to them about why that happened and talk about ways that we can help support them so that they don't make that choice again. So that restorative piece within the discipline matrix and for PBIS and really rewarding or recognizing those positive behaviors is a really important piece. We do have a committee as well who leads the charge on our PBIS. And we also have supports in place as well. We have a student union. There's a place where we have counselors that students can come and see and talk to. We do a lot of guest speakers on different topics, and we advertise that out to students. And we have many of our clubs and organizations have meetings in our student wellness center. So it's a great space that we provide our students as well.
Awesome. So a couple questions, and one of them I will take, and that's about who goes where. I would say this is a very ebb and flow process. And I actually was at Mira Costa over enrollment for many years, and Hermosa students would sometimes a majority go to Redondo, and sometimes majority go to Mira Costa, and sometimes it's 50-50-ish. And I think, to be honest, it depends on access. So I think what these two principals are working to do is to kind of equalize access to campus for Hermosa kids and make sure that students are coming over to us and speaking to us. I've had several Mira Costa students and several Redondo students come over and ask to participate in outdoor ed, come back and be camp counselors for outdoor ed. My answer is yes to that. And then also just general participation. Can I help with sports? Can I help with this? So the more we can get your kids over to our campus, the more connected we are as a community. And then also the more we can get our kids to your campus, the more connected. So I love the idea of really opening up that wall. And but the numbers have shifted from year to year. It's very different. And I don't know that I've actually even really tracked why that may be. Sometimes it's just trends among friends. So like, what are you all doing? We'll all do that. What are but yeah, that's the answer to that. One question: are both schools accepting interdistrict permits?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
We are as well. Yes.
I know that I read something about a grandparents clause. Is that happening in Redondo and Manhattan, or just Manhattan?
We do honor that in Manhattan.
Okay, so that's if a grandparent lives in Manhattan, not in Redondo. Okay. Differences in class size. So what about is your class size ratio at each of your schools? Mr. Bridi, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so our class size is about 35 and under, right? Some classes are impacted, but if we want to break down entire, let's say, staff to teacher ratio, it's about 30-1 when you start looking at PE classes and some of the other classes that we have. So it's about a 30-1 ratio.
Okay, great. And same, Dr. Gerger?
Yeah, pretty similar. Some classes are a little larger than 30 and others are smaller, just depending. Again, it's about that student interest in the student-centered master schedule. So sometimes they're a little lower. We have to decide whether we're going to offer a class or not if the numbers are lower, but but for the most part, it is 30-1.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Is there a link on the websites to a list of current clubs, academic teams? So we will look for that. We'll go on to both schools' websites, and I will link that on the 8th grade website for all of the families here. Okay, I think we're like coming close to the end of time. So I just want to pop in and say, is there anything else either of you wants to share with Hermosa families?
Sure. I just want to say that both schools are amazing. You can't go wrong either way. And we do have many similar options for students, but there are some, minor unique things about each school. But you really just can't go wrong picking either way.
Thank you.
Yeah, to close, there is taglines with the PBIS model, and I'm like, there is one that's really cheeky that one of my teacher on special assignment said, when I speak to students, I want to tell them, are you on pace to soar? So PACE is our student learner outcomes, and it means like productive citizen, autonomous learner, critical thinker, and effective communicator. And then our PBIS model, like the behavior expectations, are safety, ownership, acceptance, and respect, right? And I'm like, I can only imagine being in the conversation with that student that you're talking to, and you're like, are you on pace to soar, right? And it's funny to me when that happens. So when I say that is like both high schools are excellent. We're both WASC accredited. We have excellent staff. We have excellent facilities, and we both have an excellent community. And I would say that our community is pretty much one and the same when you think about it. All the students that are either athletes, they know each other, right? All the students that are in and around either Redondo or Manhattan, they know each other. They go to these games. It's highly competitive because they're friends. And so, with that, and wherever the tide may turn or wherever the shift may be, even if it's 50-50, we're always going to be partners, even though we're rivals. So I have to say that because it's so much fun being just across town and being part of what Karina's doing, Dr. Gerger's doing, and then what we're doing here in Redondo. So I thank you for hosting us, and we welcome all your students to be here and families on the 3rd for a tour of Redondo.
Great, thank you. And then I think just in closing, we are working to expand that alumni network. And because we're a K-8 district, sometimes it's hard to find our kids that leave and go to you. So there was an event that we ran last year, which was the senior send-off. So we will invite both of your kids back again in June, cap and gown or not. For sure, we'll have Miss Kelly there because they all want to see our librarian, Miss Kelly. But to come back, and I have to say, when we have these events that we're pulling Hermosa kids back together, I watched them walk over your knoll, Mr. Bridi. I watched them walk into Claypool's room, Karina. It's so cool. They're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. But the connection is awesome to watch. So we want to make sure that we're bringing them back and celebrating their post-high school stuff too, even though they're leaving us at 8th grade. So look for senior send-off information coming at the end of May, beginning of June. So thank you so much for your participation, principals. We so value you. I completely agree. What an amazing opportunity to go to 2 fantastic schools. So thank you everybody who attended, and we'll follow up with an email and also the links that you requested on the 8th grade website. So I'll re-push that out to all of you. Hope you have a great evening. I'm going to stop recording. Okay. If I can.